Hey everyone, Evan Kirstel here again with my favorite topic, making 5G simpler. I'm here with Alan from GXC. Alan, how are you?
Wonderful, Evan. Great to be together again.
Yeah, good to talk. It's been a few weeks. You've had a big week at the big 5G event, pun intended. First of all, how's the barbecue in Austin? Is it as good as ever?
I made the mistake of suggesting I might be in San Antonio this weekend and might have barbecue to some of my colleagues, and there was a very vocally strong reaction to that. So the barbecue is strong as the economy in Austin.
All right, that's fun. But getting back to business, tell us about the event. It was a pretty big event for our industry, and you were busy with partnerships, with announcements. So bring us up to speed.
Yeah, we try to just take advantage of a lot of key partners and potential partners and customers we've been talking to in town. Since we're the home team based in Austin, Texas, we decided to have a big GXC welcome reception. And as part of a demonstration of how quick and easy it is and to put up our system, because our tagline is ingeniously simple. We actually put up a multi-node system in 30 or 40 minutes in a
Wow.
barbecue reception hall. And we're running all these live demos, live video, everything live at the event. So it wasn't what could we do? It was, hey, look, we're doing it here, and you can do it too. So when you everybody tends to talk about what you could do with these networks, but when you could actually do it in real time, it's a different kind of impact.
I love it. Live demos, live networks. That's pretty bold. Usually these things go terribly wrong. So
Mm.
congratulations on making it all work. What were some of the big two, three, four takeaways from the event?
Well, I think it's still early days for private cellular, but I think people are really waking up to that more and more Wi-Fi is great and you need it, but it's sort of reached the limit of what it can do for you. And I think security is just becoming amazingly high on the list of concerns and interest of corporations of almost every size. We've completed just in the last 6 weeks, I think, three different security audits for multi-billion dollar organizations. And like we passed them all flying colors. But the point is, last year you would have been asked about it, but not to the level you're getting checked on it today. And I think, in fact, one of our large multi-international clients has a policy that they have Wi-Fi in their campus buildings, but you cannot access the network from outside because they're so concerned about security. And we heard a really crazy story that a couple weeks ago there was an employee trying to save time who actually accessed the network to do an update on something, and they fired him on the spot.
Wow.
That's how concerned companies are about security these days, and it just is going to go up and up.
Indeed. We've got Black Hat and DEF CON coming up in the summer. How fun would it be to take some GXC gear and let the hackers have a go at it? That might be an
Wow.
interesting discussion. I know when you go to Black Hat, you're basically told turn off your phone, turn off your Wi-Fi, your Bluetooth, otherwise you're in big trouble. Uh, but
Yeah, yeah.
but
Carry an etch a sketch. That's about it, right?
yeah. One other thing you mentioned at the conference was that you saw LTE being a bridge to 5G. Usually we think about these as distinct, standards platforms, but what did you mean by that?
Well, there's certainly different protocols, but what we're seeing is a lot of enterprises start with LTE because it's been around for a decade. It's easy to get stuff to connect. And frankly, the speed of LTE will take care of 95% of your use cases in most companies today. Also, the cost of that network it's pretty cost effective because again, it's been around for a decade. Now we're a leader in a lot of the 5G stuff going on, especially around 5G O-RAN. We run the US Navy's 5G lab. We're one of only a handful of companies selected for the NTIA 5G challenge. So we're leading the charge in 5G, but on a practical basis, there's still not that many devices to natively connect on a real 5G network that would drive 5G only use cases. And so that is starting to change, and we see the device ecosystem starting to increase very rapidly. But it's probably going to be sometime next year when companies get more serious about 5G. So what they want is they want something they can use immediately today to add value to their business operations, but they want to know it's not a dead end street, that when they really do need that pure 5G, it's really easy to add it into the mix. And so that tends to be the evolution of that connectivity platform.
That's a great point. And we were just talking before this show about different verticals in the enterprise, and that's your focus, enterprise, but it can mean a lot of different things to different people. What are the use cases for private cellular that you're seeing now? Where are you getting most traction and interest?
So the three main things that drive these things continue to be coverage, security, and control of your data. So the more data that you have, the more you're spread out, the more concerned are you about this kind of network. We like to joke that we cover all the uncarpeted areas of the world. So it could be warehouse, manufacturing campus. We're doing an incredible amount of smart ag. And it's the same thing. If it's an industrial campus, it's how do you have that seamless inside out roaming where you never touch a public network, that you can hang all the cellular stuff on natively that you have, but yet you can use gateways to be backward compatible with everything already existing in your organization. So that's the other fun thing about this kind of network that's sort of an umbrella network, a network of networks, that you don't have to throw anything out. You can take everything you have, so it's backwards compatible, but it's also forward compatible with all the new cellular stuff coming out. So the use cases remain about if you're industrial or warehouse, it could be something straightforward like you now have coverage every corner of the warehouse. So whether it's managing battery charge on forklifts, which are now 70% electric, whether it's scanning corporate applications, they don't want those in a public network, connecting up all the machinery. And then it gets more into sensing applications. For instance, forklift seems like a simple thing, but we have almost an infinite amount in this country. Let's say you want to do something like collision avoidance. Well, you can't do it with Wi-Fi because you don't have full coverage, and the latency would be way too high to ever pull that off. So some of these new generation things, and I always say, we all enjoy the YouTube videos of people having soup and taking naps in Teslas, but real automated stuff is happening much more advanced where you're not going to run over strangers, like warehouses, like for instance, farming, smart ag. Those are the guys that are really leading in autonomous because it's a little more forgiving. And it's an enterprise environment, so you can control it much better. All those things really require a business critical level of connectivity you can't get with Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I was actually at a college my son's going to, and we were, taking the second tour before he accepted, and there were these little Starship robots scurrying all over campus. Mm-hmm. And this is a big campus, so I'm like, wow, how are these things, getting around? Because they were everywhere. Quite a change from when we went to school. But, I just see so many opportunities in education and healthcare, and any campus really of any kind could benefit.
Oh, absolutely. And think about all the things you have to monitor on a campus that Wi-Fi just gets a little wonky on. All the things, all the assets that move around. When you want to know, like it starts if your maintenance guys had a private secure channel. Because what happens too, for instance, if your school, your university is in a city, again, in some situations, Wi-Fi is fine, but a lot of times the RF interference level is getting really, really bad. And I can tell you, if you've never tried to set up a Wi-Fi network in an office in the middle of New York City, there's companies that specialize in just doing that because it's such a black art because there's only so many channels. So cellular really comes in handy in those situations.
Yeah, let's talk about that. And cellular as a term of art. I mean, public cellular is in 5G. Its coverage is getting pretty good. Will it ever be perfect? Is that really what you're trying to strive for? Is that coverage capacity in places that will just never be fully covered by public 5G?
Yeah, pretty much. If you think about it, most even before 5G, all the big telco names in mobile. I mean, they're creating a network. It's really a miracle of modern technology, but it's a network that's not made for any one thing. It's made for every possible thing. So it's sort of not optimized for any one thing. And most of the coverage is outdoors. Most of cellular consumption is indoors. And when you get into warehouses and industrial and a lot of these campuses, the buildings are metal frame buildings. So signals tend to do a really, really bad job penetrating. And the windows, remember, because we're all into energy efficiency, they have the emissivity coating on that keep the heat and the cold on the right side. Well, radio waves are just another form of energy. So they actually do a fantastic job of keeping radio waves out of the building too.
And I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
People don't realize. In fact, you can do experiments. There's again videos of this. You can stand in front of a modern window, and look at the signal you get. And then you can stand in front of a wall, and you can often get a better signal in front of a brick wall than a window because of that e-coating on the window. So
Wow.
so it's just crazy, but that's just physics.
Yeah, I do a lot of work in healthcare IT, and that's why when you go into a hospital, you still see pagers
Yeah.
and kind of almost like walkie talkies because you go in the basement, you go into strange, parts of the building, and you just can't get good coverage. And the building's old; you don't have fiber everywhere throughout the building. So, yeah, it's a real problem. So when it comes to this idea of a mesh network for private cellular, is this your intellectual property, your innovation? Because the idea of mesh has been around for a while, but it's been a bit of a science project over the decades.
Certainly has. There's been a lot of overpromise on it. But if you think about
Mm.
Wi-Fi, for the last 5 years or so, we've had really good Wi-Fi mesh. Before then they had those repeaters that never really worked that well. But the last 5 plus years, we've had really good home Wi-Fi, and so we're doing something similar to that. We stick with cellular standards while we do it, but
Mm.
there's a lot of really smarter people than me walking around here, a lot of PhDs that came out of university research projects that then applied the underlying technology around interference cancellation and mesh technologies to what we're doing in cellular. It's one of the reasons we're so unique because we just have a massive amount of intellectual property developed. And again, you're not trying to do your whole network mesh just like you wouldn't do it at home, but it's perfect thing for extending and flexing and future proofing your network. Because now, again, a great example is that reception we had Monday night. We put up the initial node inside the barbecue area, but then we said, oh, there's a sitting area out there. Let's just throw a mesh node out there. And literally just plugged it in. And then when the show was over in 10 minutes, the thing was down. And imagine that when you're creating inventory you have to store outside, or you have an event. We just had a meeting with a potential customer that has some business activities around racing of race car events, and they have concessions all around the area, and they can't even connect up because of the contention on both public cellular networks and Wi-Fi. They can't take people's credit cards. And
Wow.
this is really expensive merchandise. So the idea that they can literally just plug in a couple of nodes and have that network for a couple of days for an event, take it back down easily, and then go to the next place, that is a complete game changer for them. So there's all kinds of fun applications like that for mesh.
Oh, I love that. And the idea of ad hoc events and spaces, the Coachellas of the world, which happen in strange places. And I didn't even think of that as another use case. So, one thing you're doing is really actively signing up partners. What kind of partners are you looking for? I imagine there's this kind of profile that fits the bill.
We're working with some of the really, really big enterprise technology logos you might imagine that we can't quite announce yet. But frankly, I think some of the people that instantly get it, that have an instant need, are the traditional VARs working in the Wi-Fi space. And they're still going to continue to work with Wi-Fi because it's great for certain things, but
Hmm.
they know the limits of it. And so the idea that they can complement it with something that's a turnkey solution up and running, it doesn't take a week of setup, is really compelling to them. So we have people coming to us for everything from covering sports stuff to covering agriculture, smart ag, to even a new partner we signed up a few weeks ago, who the same day they signed our channel agreement, signed a 3-year deal for one of their customers that does large construction projects. And they're putting up about a pretty big network, about a 10 node network around this massive factory site they're building up over acres and acres. Because now they have their own private, highly secured network. They have coverage everywhere for the people, for the machines, for everything, for the security stuff, everything going on. And guess what? When they're done with that project, they're already thinking about moving it to the next big one. But then their customer said, "Hey, that's pretty cool. When you're done, can we just buy it from you? You can keep it here." So those are the partners again that I think are just the immediate dead on fit, the people that are really already the VARs around the Wi-Fi space, guys that are selling Cisco Meraki, Ruckus, that kind of stuff, that need one more thing to complement it, and it just slides right in for them. They get it.
Fantastic. And as a standard, I imagine you can sell and support clients all over the world with the same
Yeah,
core technology.
our focus is North America because it's such a busy market, but
Mm.
our technology can handle just about anything under sub 6 gigahertz for spectrum. And what drives supporting different countries is how they're handling their spectrum allocation. So we have a couple of early, very, very large global companies that now are planning to walk around the world with them. South America and Europe tend to be especially important markets. And most, not all, but most markets have some way for you to get a piece of spectrum that you can use for one of these private networks. So, so far, so good.
Awesome. Well, congrats on a great event, great week in Austin. What's next? Anything on the radar that's worth mentioning at this point?
Summer
Or
vacation, right? There's still a bunch of stuff going on. We're pretty much heads down on implementations over the next few weeks, and then July and August tend to be a little bit slower months, and then we'll jump back into the show schedule in September.
all right. Well, thanks for the update. Congrats on all the success in Austin at the big 5G event and more. And yeah, we'll catch up soon.
All right, thank you, Evan.
Thanks everyone for watching. Appreciate it. Bye bye.